Welcome to Altru Realty's series on how to sell a home for the most money without leaving any money on the table and sell a home fast. The first thing you want to consider is a 4-point inspection. What a 4-point inspection does for you is it allows you to get in front of the buyer's home inspection so you can see what's going on with the roof, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Also, the buyer is going to request a 4-point inspection anyway to get insurance on the home. So you might as well get out in front of that curve, get a 4-point, and see what that roof and all the other major components of a home looks like. Another important consideration before you list your home is how much remodel should you do. This is a very complicated topic. I've spoken about this a lot, and the reason why is because sometimes sellers think that for every dollar they put in, they get $1.50 back. That is not necessarily true. The litmus test for selling a home is compare your home to new construction, because builders don't look at selling a home the same way as a homeowner does. They're not after anything but their return on the invested monies into that project. So compare your current home to the comparable sales in your neighborhood along with any builders that you're competing with. Another consideration when you're listing your home or considering improvements is hurricane windows and expensive items like solar. Careful as you go with solar and with hurricane windows. While hurricane windows are awesome for home protection, keeping the sound out, keeping your roof on during a storm, they are very expensive. Sometimes a buyer won't recognize how valuable they are and might not pay you the money for that, as well as the solar system. Solar systems are expensive, and the return on that investment might be longer than you think. Another consideration for solar panels is that the contractor that installs will file a lien, a commercial lien against the property if they're holding any paper on that solar system. You cannot sell that home with one of those liens in place. You're going to have to clear it. So before you put a solar system on your home, realize that getting that money back might not be so easy when you go to sell it to a buyer. Another important consideration before you list your home is find out if you have a septic system. If you're on septic, it would be a very good idea to get it inspected by some professional septic company. But the problem with getting it inspected is the same companies that do the inspections do the replacements. They want your business. So if you wait for the buyer to inspect your septic system once they put you under contract, they might come back and say, oh, it needs an entirely new system. So what are you going to do? How are you going to refute that? So you're better off coming into the deal knowing your septic system is good, that your drain field is good, that you don't need a new septic system. Now let's talk about writing an ad for the MLS. So one word you don't want to put in that ad is furnished. And the reason why you don't want to put in furnished, unless you really are going to sell it with the furniture, is because if there's any value to your furniture, you've taken away any negotiating abilities of your listing agent to negotiate a separate and higher deal, separating the furniture out from the home sale. In other words, don't say it. The technique I like is allow the buyer, once they go under contract, to ask you to buy your furniture. Wait on them. If they don't ask you after maybe 10 days under contract, maybe you should ask them. But if you put it in your MLS ad, they're going to take it for free because they're going to be negotiating the sale of the property, and they're going to say, oh, you're giving the furniture away for free. You obviously don't care about it. My suggestion is don't say the word furnished unless you're in a rental community and you don't have a whole lot of value to that furniture. Another nuance of writing an ad for the MLS is this. A lot of home sellers think that if they add the word as is, as in selling the home as is, that they're selling the home just the way it is with no inspection, that it is as is, you're taking it. Well, that's not the way buyers construe that word. What they see is bad roof. They see bad plumbing. They see something that the seller does not want to disclose to the buyer. How about don't say it? Just advertise your property, and they're going to present the offer on an as-is FAR/BAR contract, most likely, and then you're right back to where you were, so you don't have to say the word as is in your ad, and you should not. Now, before you go into the MLS, you've got to figure out what your list price is going to be. There are many ways to look at list prices. My specialty as a listing broker is just that, figuring out the best list price for your home. There's 3 ways to consider listing your home. You could list it as a target list price, which might be slightly above value. You could list it at value, which I call a market listing deal, or you can go below market. The next video, I'll discuss the advantages of each. When listing your home in the MLS, a targeted list price means that you have data points to believe, let's say your home is worth $550,000. If you think you're worth $550 because your neighbor sold, maybe you had a prior offer, maybe you were listed in the MLS before, and you've got plenty of data points to say your value is $550. If we think that, then we could possibly go at a number like $564, $14,000 higher than where value might be. And what you're doing is you're trying to pick off a particular buyer that's searching for your neighborhood, that's waiting for your home to come on the market. And when it does, they say, well, that price seems okay, a little high, but I want it. I'm going to offer full price. That's a good strategy. Another go-to pricing method that I use all the time at Altru Realty is called relevant pricing. Relevant pricing is it's not saying that your targeted pricing, as mentioned before in the prior video, is wrong, because you're still relevant at the example I gave at $564,000. But relevant pricing means basically this. Can you get a full price offer from a normal buyer in a normal market condition? If you can, that's what you want. And the reason why you want that to be is because if one buyer thinks you're worth offering full price, so will all the other buyers. And when that dynamic happens, the seller gets more money for their home. Another very effective listing price methodology is just a below market list price, actually planning for a bidding war. That has been my go-to move for years. And why do I like it? Well, first of all, we're all guessing at the best list price anyway. So as long as we're close to value, we're okay. And you don't have to be grossly underpriced. You can be underpriced by $5,000 or $10,000 based upon what you think it might go for in the end. But the point is, if you have a professional negotiator, all I'm looking for is for people to offer. I want many offers. I want 3, I want 10 offers. Why? Because I'm going to be very patient about how I find the best buyer within the offer group. I'll talk more about that in a second, but it's very important to realize that a list price is just a placeholder to garner offers to prove the value of the home. So back to the best concept to price your home to go into the MLS. What is the best pricing methodology? Well, certainly adding wiggle room is not the best idea. The best idea is just price the home exactly where you think you can get a full price offer. If you're going to make a mistake if you want to call it a mistake, in the favor of the buyers. Why? Because the buyers will always come out and make offers if you price it to them, not away from them. And if more than one buyer comes out and makes an offer, what's going to happen is the list price is only going to be a placeholder to attract those offerers for the savvy listing agent to drive the price higher using their negotiating skills. What I always look for as a listing agent is a relevant list price. I want that list price to be right where the average buyer can offer full price and be excited about doing so. If you do that, then you're going to be very successful as a seller, because what will happen is all the buyers will see you as a value, and they'll all want to participate in the buying process. When that happens, if you're patient as a negotiator and just don't take the first deal, but wait until you get 3 to 10 offers, might take you 8 to 20 days to have that happen, you will find the highest buyer and you will not leave any money on the table. A lot of people fear, I've got to get my list price just right or I won't get all the money. That's not true. You can actually be under the value of your home by 10, 15, 20, 30,000 and still end up with a very high sale if you have a good agent. And what does that mean? That means that the agent has to realize that just because you're priced at a certain number and if somebody offers you full price, that's not value. If somebody offers you $10,000 over your list price, that may not be value either. And if somebody offers you less than list price and you counter somebody, you're doing the opposite of finding out what the value is. So the idea about understanding how to handle list price is have confidence that once you get listed in the MLS, have trust in your list price and don't abandon that list price. Now, of course, if you're wrong after 2 or 3 weeks in the market, you need a price adjustment. But for the meantime, always assume that your list price is relevant and that the buyers will pay you list or higher. So a lot of people think, sellers in particular, that if I list too low, maybe I'll be leaving money on the table. Well, you can leave money on the table many ways. You can list too low and take an offer too quickly. You can list what you think is right, counter somebody and undersell the home. You can list the home above value. You get a lowball offer, you meet the lowball offer in the middle, and you can leave money on the table that way too. The only way to prevent a seller from leaving money on the table is by being patient. You've got to price it relevantly so that everybody wants to make a full price offer. And then you have to literally wait till you see enough evidence where value is. Some buyer might think the value is $20,000 higher than the other buyer. That's the buyer you need to find. And you can't find that well if you overprice the home. So keep those prices relevant to where you think you can get a full price offer. While we're talking about accepting offers and getting the right list price, a lot of sellers have in their head that you have to take a full price offer, you have to give them a counter by the time to accept deadline at 5 p.m. tomorrow, things like that. And also sellers believe everybody wants to negotiate. Well, that's all not true. You don't have to negotiate with the buyer. We often don't counter anybody. We just wait for the buyers to come to our list price or higher. We also don't necessarily hurry our deals along because somebody says you got to do something by 5 p.m. tomorrow as well. We don't do that. And if somebody makes a full price offer, you don't have to take it. So there's a lot of things that sellers have in their minds that cause them to overprice a home. So the truth of the matter is, when you do pick a list price, you as the seller and the listing agent have all the power. You never want to share that power with the buyer's agent, and there's many ways to do that, which I don't really want to get into in this video, but you have all the power. You have all the time in the world to find that highest buyer. And one thing I can tell you is that once a buyer makes an offer, they never walk away from it. A couple of nuances that are really important to understand as a seller and a listing agent is that once a buyer makes an offer, they're never going to go away from the offer. So if they made an offer and they want to counter by tomorrow at 5 p.m. and you don't have a chance to counter them, or maybe you got a lot of offers coming in, whatever the case may be, you never worry about a buyer leaving a transaction. They're not going away. And the reason why they're not going away is because if you price it accurately where everybody wants to buy your home, there are no other homes but yours. You are the only game in town. Now, once you've settled on a list price, you can always change that list price if you're not getting the right action. After 18 days in the market, in my opinion, most of the buyers have had an opportunity to see your property and make an offer. Those are the buyers that are local and from out of town. So, after 18 days, you might consider a price adjustment. But careful as you go, when you're making a price adjustment, try to make just one adjustment and make it effective, which I'll talk about next. So if you haven't had the offers or the showings after about 18 days in the market, how much should you lower your list price? Well, I can tell you this, that most listings sell 3% under their last listed price. So if you're not getting an offer, there's no buyer within 3% of your list price. I would suggest you drop at least 7% so you can vet out new buyers and have a chance to get a full price offer or more than one offer. That's the intent and that's the mission.